Hiya, how's it going? I am the Cunning Man, and this is part 2 of my visit to Wales. Now, some of you, the more eagle-eyed of you, will recognise that I'm still driving down from England, and I haven't changed my clothes. These may change throughout the video because I'm going to show you a couple of little bits and pieces, but I wanted to split the video up into 2 or maybe 3 parts because I think otherwise it would be too long. I'm nowhere near professional enough to worry about continuity, but I wanted to make this second video to kind of explain why the channel is called The Cunning Man and why I call myself The Cunning Man. So it may be a term you're familiar with, it may not. It refers to the cunning man, the cunning woman, or cunning folk. And they were also known as the helpful folk or the kind folk. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Someone's just pulled out the side and then sped up. So, from about the 1200s onwards, there's records, written records of the cunning folk. They were cunning folk in the UK until the mid-20th century. Now, the cunning folk were thought to be a little bit magical, and you're talking about a period of time where people put a lot of stock in the thought that people were involved in magic, and there was a lot of concern about witches, there was a lot of concern about witchcraft and dark magic. Well, the cunning folk were kind of a counterpoint to that. They often helped as witch finders, but also some cunning folk were charged with witchcraft as well. Now, we would recognise them, I suppose, as white witches, possibly, or like your local village wise woman or wise man. But back then, they were thought to be able to use magic in a positive way to help people, and thought to be a little bit magical themselves. So they were known as being somebody that you went to consult with if you had a problem. That was one of their first skills. A lot of them were herbalists, so they were able to use the plants around them to help to get people better. And right up until probably the middle of the 20th century, if you had a really, really serious problem, you would go and see the doctor or the physician. But if you had a minor ailment, minor injury, or a developing condition, you would probably go and see the cunning man or the cunning woman. Interestingly, a lot of their treatments have been found to be effective. So they used a lot of herbs and a lot of other plants to heal people that we since now understand why that stuff works. One of the methods that they used to heal people, if you had a sore arm or a sore shoulder, they would tell you to tap it with a nettle and let the nettle sting you, and it was to get the spirits to bring the pain out and all of that sort of stuff. Well, it's since been found that that's actually an effective painkiller. It releases analgesics into your body that act as a natural painkiller, so it worked. And lots of other things as well, which I'm sure we'll discuss further as we go along. So why have I called, I will come back to that in a second, but they were also known for other things, so they were helpful in other ways. A lot of them were good carpenters, stonemasons, they could do stone walling, they could weave hedges, they could create lovely clothing, knit warm clothing, they could weave, they could spin wool, a lot of that stuff that they could do that was useful to other people. And they would often make things and gift them to people. That's important as we start to talk about why I call myself the Cunning Man. But interestingly, the last person in the UK to be convicted of witchcraft was in the 1940s. So we're not talking about ancient times here, this stuff went on for a long time. And I'm quite proud to come from a family of cunning folk. I come from a long and very historic line of stonemasons, and I'll talk about that and I'll show you all of that in a future video. But one of the things that makes me proudest is that people in the village where I grew up still talk about Granny Brute. Now, Granny Brute was my great-grandmother, and she was probably one of the UK's last cunning women. In the village where she lived all her life, she was known as somebody that you went to if you'd hurt yourself or if you'd injured yourself, and she could help with all sorts of other ailments. She was also known to be somewhat magical, and there are stories that she used magic maybe in ways that were a little bit vengeful, and I might talk to you about that further in this series. But her son, my grandfather, was a very well respected man in the village. But interestingly, if you think about if we'd gone back in time, he probably would have been known as a cunning man. He was the local village bobby. He used to drive the coal truck, he used to drive the kids to school, he used to be a carpenter, he was a master furniture maker, and he was just an all-round helpful person, and he used to make things and just give them away to people. And I love the thought that that's how life used to be. I love the thought that people used to care about one another and there used to be a community. And I'm desperate to spread the message that that's something that's positive. So me personally, I've worked in healthcare for probably most of my working career. I'm also very good with my hands. I build a lot of stuff. I built my camper van. I repair and build motorcycles. I built my own workshop. And I also like to make things, bits and pieces, and gift them to people because it brings other people joy. I can also cook really well. I like to bake. So when I was thinking about the channel and what I wanted it to be, I thought, yeah, I think I want to be the cunning man, and I want to show what cunning folk in today's society could bring and how we could maybe think about being a little bit more cunning ourselves. So what I'm going to do in this video is, when I go back to my village, which is tomorrow, I call it my village because it's my village. When I go back tomorrow, I'm going to actually show you where Granny Brute was born, grew up, grew old, and passed away. I'm going to show you a little cottage. It's beautiful. I will also take you and show you where she's buried, and I'll take you and show you the village church, which her husband was very involved in maintaining and helping to build, and my grandfather subsequently took over that role. So it's interesting to me, but I'm hoping you'll enjoy it while I tell you some of the stories. And while we do it, I'll tell you some of the stories about Granny Brute. So I will see you in a bit. So we are now in the village of Llanbedr in the South Wales. It's not far away from Abergavenny. It's a beautiful place. It's very picturesque. And I spent an awful lot of my youth when I was growing up in this village, because my family are from this village. My father was born and grew up here, and my family are from this village. But the first thing I wanted to show you, I was talking about Granny Brute, my hero, and probably one of the last cunning folk that we would recognise. And this was her little cottage. and she was born in this cottage. She grew up, she had a life and passed away, all in this little cottage. Beautiful. And a lot of people in the village still remember it as Granny Brute's cottage. And it's fantastic. This cottage was actually built at a place called Grenivaux Reservoir, and it was one of the cottages that was used to house the people that were building the reservoir. When they finished building the reservoir, they moved it brick by brick and rebuilt it in the village. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Unfortunately, I don't know the person that now owns it, so I can't go inside and show you what it looks like inside, but it's an absolutely fantastic, beautiful little place. There is a local red pub, the Red Lion. I can remember, the way I describe this village is that it's about 40 houses, a pub and a church, and it's literally at least 5 miles away from everywhere. And you can see it's nestled in the bosom of the Black Mountains and completely surrounded. And this is St. Peter's Church, and it's a beautiful old church that is actually linked quite heavily to my family. So my great-great-grandfather, Thomas Brute, he helped to build a lot of this church. My family were involved in a lot of the creation of this church, and then my grandfather, Basil, he actually took the bell down during the Second World War and rehung it, and my father actually helped him to rehang the bell in the church. So there's an awful lot of history here for my family. But there are some interesting bits and pieces around the church that I just wanted to kind of show you. And it's a place you can come, which is quite unusual, because they're still how they used to be. You go to a lot of churchyards now and they've been made safe, and you can't sort of go there, and they've laid a lot of the older stones down and so forth. But you can see no one's kind of messed with this, and you can see what it looks like through time. It's fantastic. But I just wanted to show you a couple of these gravestones here, because you can see that these gravestones have got like cherubs carved into them, and lovely carvings of flowers and so on. And it was a monumental stonemasonry style of a period, roughly from sort of the 1500s to the 1800s. And my family, the Brute family, were stonemasons that were very famous for the quality of the stones that they used to create. And so much so that they've become one of the sort of archaeological wonders of Wales. I just want to come over here and show you this one, because it was moved and put onto the church wall, and you can see up here, in memory of Elizabeth, wife of Richard Price, and you can see that it's dated 1804. But if you come down and look here, the stonemasons actually signed it, J. Brute. And again, by here, this is in memory of Anthony Powell, and again it's signed J. Brute, dated 1808. And throughout Wales you can find stones from the Brute's family stonemasons all the way back to the 1600s, and that gives you a real link through time. I just think it's fantastic. I love this place, and I would encourage anybody to go out and research your family history, and then go and have a dig about and see what history you can find, because it's amazing. I mean, I'm quite lucky. My family, being from a small village, the stories get passed down. But yeah, and then you come around here, and I was saying about the last of the true Cunning folk was my grandfather, and there's my grandfather where he's buried, Basil Owen. My grandmother, Margaret Ann. And it's a link to the past, isn't it? It's a gorgeous thought of how things used to be, some of the lessons we used to know and learn. And then we come up here, and I was saying about my great grandmother Granny Brute. Well, this is where she's buried. Thomas Brute and his beloved wife Mary. And yeah, I just thought I would come and show you where the whole idea of the Cunning man came from. A couple of other interesting little bits and pieces is, if we come around here, this little copse of woods used to be, so they don't generally have funerals here anymore, but it used to be the heart of the village, and all funerals used to take place in this church. But this little copse here, if we go inside, to here, is a hollow tree right by here. The tree's hollow. I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a hollow tree, and the gravedigger would have a chair, and when it rained, come and sit inside the tree. And it reminds me of a tree from a very famous set of books about a wizard. But what a beautiful place. What an absolutely stunning place. And I think on the channel I'm going to do lots of different bits and pieces, but I think a part of it is going to be coming and finding these fantastic little old buildings and bits of history, because I think it's just beautiful. Well, thank you for joining me from the heart of my homeland, and thank you for coming along and having a look at some of the things that I think are just fascinating. I would take you inside the church because there's a lot of interesting stuff in there as well, but unfortunately I don't have the lighting rig, and it's an old church, so it's very dark. So we'll just leave it at that, and if you like, maybe get in your car, come and have a look at it yourself, or just find one in your local area and do a bit of research and have a look at some of the stories. My family, one of my uncles, he did our family tree, and he got it back to, I believe, something like 1160. An unbroken line of brutes all the way back to 1160. It's a lot of history. But yeah, I'm just going to get out the postman's way, and thank you. It's actually time now for me to jump in the car and head off back to Birmingham. So I've got to go and take the Cunning wife to her wedding. Hiya, you alright? I love the people of Wales, they're always so happy. Right, well, in all the best traditions of my fancy exits, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you again.